What's good, y'all? Thanks for joining us for this latest episode of the HipHopHumboldt podcast. Hey, I'm always blessed to be joined by legends in Humboldt County, but this one's going to be a real special one, I'm telling you, man. In the studio right now, we got OEB. What's up, OEB?
What's up with it, man? Thanks for having me, you know what I mean? Big up Humboldt. It's always nice to represent.
Yes, and it's a dope culture out here, and you're one of the people that's really been doing it for a long time. You know what I'm saying? You really laid a lot of groundwork for this culture, to be real honest about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I'd love to get into the history of what you were doing, over the years as things moved along in your career and things like that, and with the music and the culture in the community, and of course anything else that you want to get into. But I'm just really thankful to get your stories on this podcast. You know, you're one of the ones where, after talking to a lot of the legends in Humboldt County, I would say that this podcast would I would have to have you on here to make sure that this is paying respect to what you've done.
Oh man, I appreciate it. Like I said, and yeah, I've been here, 3 generations. So my grandpa was here, my dad was here, and so I remember when it was just we was just breakdancing, and then DJ battles and all that in Arcata. On what's known as the plaza now is like a fingernail what the plaza was when I was young. It was bars everywhere down every block. And so the hip hop was always started for me with the break dancing and seeing it and going to the battles and then into the freestyle battles and stuff. Cause I started off a battle rapper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk about it. Yeah.
Well, I grew up with a big family. And we played the dozens. We just cap on each other anyway, you know what I mean? So I found it comfortable with just looking at somebody and be able to talk about it and crack jokes. So I started off battle rapping around Humboldt, just playing with it. And I'd say I was good, you know what I mean? And so it just fueled a little fire to me to start wanting to do more and more and have people hear what I say. But without people like Mental Case, who you had on here, who used to hear me freestyle and stuff, actually forcing it on me, putting me in the padded box. We say Mental Case in the padded box. I'd get in his closet, freestyle, leave, and come back. He'd chop things up. Next thing you know, he had a whole song. Everybody was like, "Man, we heard your song." And I'm like, "What song?" I was like, "Casey, then we're playing it." Then I go hear it. I'm like, "You made songs and albums." I was just like, big up. So that right there was like, well, I have to be out there.
Yeah, that's super dope. That's support right there, what I mean? That's like that foundation, and having something like that for the culture. That shout out to Case for real, and LCA and what he was doing.
Case,
yeah.
And LCA, and I'm also like DJ Baby J, I call, but Josh underrated.
Yeah.
I remember when I used to listen to his mixtapes before they were rapping. He used to just make mixtapes and sell them at the works in Eureka and all that. He was always a gifted person, and that was, way back before it really formed, before Potluck formed, and the Part Lane Click formed, and kind of all of these to what it grew into. And I just want to big up to Josh too, you know what I'm saying, for being here, me being able to hear his stuff. KHSU used to have Battle of the Rappers every Friday, so as a little kid, that's where you got on there and you freestyle or you battle, you call in, it would take like the first 8 people, so we would be piled up in a house, 3 of my friends on the phone calling HSU, and other people were doing the same thing. You'd be like, "Oh, we got 2 rappers here," then so they gave everybody your 60 seconds to do your thing.
That's dope.
Yeah, and then the callers would call in and vote it off to whoever was the winner. So that used to be like, when I was young, that's what everybody grew up waiting to do, is Battle of the Rappers or KHSU. It's like, man, that's...
Yeah. Shout out to KSU for that. Do you remember by chance the DJ, or did it change around?
No, I couldn't remember, but I was young. I remember we were all like 15, 16, so that'd be 30 years ago.
Shout out to whoever it was, that's dope.
Whoever it was doing the late night KHSU hip hop, that's the only time they let like hip hop come on, was that late night hour, no daytime at all. But yeah, that was a big part of my life, that Battle of the Rappers that helped me. kind of moved towards what I started doing around Humboldt and really just wanting to be heard and have all the Humboldt rappers heard too. So it was good.
Dope. So once you started linking up and making music with Case, after that, what kind of direction did it go in?
Well, me, I didn't put a lot into rapping and being a rapper. I was running around. I had kids early, so I was just living life and being on the scene. But most of the time, like, I did guest raps. Like, I'd be coming through and people like, oh, we're doing a song, you want to put a verse down? And I don't write, you know what I mean? I just kind of listen to the beat with them and all that smoke. And then when it's time for me to go in there, I just go in there and kind of tell a story that I didn't put together. So I never wrote, so I always just stopped by, smoked the joint, and started putting music together with LCA. We had some songs with them on their album. Same with Josh, DJ Underrated. So I really was just like I've been around, I know everybody because I've been up here for generations, so I'm mostly just like the pop-in dude. Everybody was doing some hip-hop. I was coming through there usually to, bring some medication, and then while I was bringing medication, they were like, we got a space, do this, do that. So I was like, bam. So I just usually guest rapped on a lot of people's stuff and then just would show up and do it. I really wasn't interested in making my own songs. I was moving around and stuff,
That's dope. You were more like promoting the culture and making things happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did all of that stuff and everybody was always like, you need to make albums, you need to do this, you need to do that. And so I sit down and write a couple songs, not literally write, but listen to them. Put down a couple songs, put them out, everybody would like them, all that stuff. But again, I couldn't focus on touring or nothing because I had kids at a young age. So I knew realistically that, fame and rapping and all that had to step back. But I always loved the music, loved the culture, loved the vibe, love seeing it thrive out here in Humboldt and love being a part of it.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, I really like though that you rather than even say like, that having kids, block it, it's just, you were just like, hey, like having kids was what it is. As a parent myself with 2 kids, it definitely changes your whole path. It changes what you are able to do, but it also, I think it kind of grows what you're able to do too.
It does. And actually have you, has you focused. Like I said, having my kids had me focused. I always wanted to bring entertainment here because I'm from here. I knew it was lacking. And again, when I grew up, we had the big lip sync that happened 2 times a year. They used to fill up the Muni, and so that was a big thing. That was like in the community, you look for that. You had the break dance contest. You had the DJ battles before anybody was even rapping. It was the DJ tearing up the cut, then the other one tear up the cut so you could move the crowd better and all that stuff. And then, so I slowly started watching it kind of go away and all that. But the rap was born, and it's a fun time too. I remember me and my buddy, it was like 6th grade, still friends with him, and some Mix-a-Lot came out with the Posses on Broadway, and in Humboldt, we really didn't have a lot of music. They didn't play it on the radio. So the new kid, shout out to Toby Big Block, he came to school and he's like, yeah, you guys ain't heard of this though? And a lot of people didn't because we're blocked out up here. And I'm like, well, I heard that song and I was big into rapping. He was like, he challenged me. He's like, well, I bet I can sing the whole song. I was like, I can sing the whole song. So at lunchtime, we go down to the playground, all the kids are watching and stuff, and he's like, you go first. I'm like, no, you go first. So he goes, and he did pretty good. He did pretty good, but he was like, he kept saying, and how's that go over there, and stopping and going. And then so it was my turn, I was off, but I never stopped. I just replaced the words with my own words, and I remembered what I did. And then when I got stuck, I just put my own lyrics in. He kept going, that's not the way the song goes, that's not the way the song goes. And I just finished the whole thing out, and I knew I had replaced so much stuff, and I knew that everybody in Humboldt they didn't know the song anyway, and I replaced so much stuff, and it sounded so smooth that everybody was just like, ah, they went all crazy.
Yeah.
That was my first time. I'm like, man, I could probably be a rapper.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah. So I just like the experience up here, like to see how it grow, man.
Yeah.
And that's why I opened up my spot. I had Live in Humboldt for a few years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which was the venue I used to throw the shows.
Oh, okay, that was you.
Yeah.
Oh, respect.
Yeah, so I always wanted to bring just entertainment here. That's why I had all types of entertainment come through there, from comedy to whatever. Even with Savage Henry, big up Savage Henry and the boys at the paper.
Yeah, shout out Chris down there.
Exactly. So I knew I would always have his comedians come open up for my comedians so they could put it on their resume. So when I was bringing Lunel and the AJ Johnsons and all that, I always called them because they were local and said, hey, I got this going. You send a couple comedians down, they could put it on their resume. I'm doing it. So kind of went like that. And
that's dope. You know, I lived around here for about 20 years, but I haven't kept my eyes on certain parts of the scene. But you saying that you brought Lunel and AJ Johnson up here?
Yeah.
Okay, so rest in peace, AJ Johnson,
Exactly.
first of all.
Yeah.
But that's dope. About what years was that?
I don't know, probably about 4 or 5 years ago. You know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when I first, R.I.P. Thick Man too, Garrett.
Fat, yes.
Thick Man.
Yeah,
He'll
we need to
always
do
be
that.
missed. You know what I'm saying? And always be remembered as one of the Humboldt rappers around here. I had the pleasure of knowing Thick Man since we were both little hard-headed, rugged kids. I was a little older, running around lost in the streets. And he was around us before, like rap and all that. So R.I.P. and much respect to Thick Man, man.
Yeah, shout out to Thick Man. That just happened, y'all. Depending on when you're watching and hearing this, you know what I'm saying, that just happened a couple days ago. That's a real devastating thing for the hip hop community and culture in Humboldt County, because that's a legend.
Definitely.
That's like a foundational, pillar. The Thick family.
Yes, I know. I grew up with him. Like I said, I'm from here. And he had the lounge. It was the Empire Lounge down there. And he was trying to back the community and all that stuff. And then when he was ready to pass it on, somebody came at me. And then after I said, all right, I'll take it over. And then I made it Live in Humboldt and kind of revamped it and brought it back and to where Savage Henry, and when I was ready to give it up, all the work that I had put into it and all that respect that I had and the respect that I know that they did and comedy and all of that in Humboldt, there was no other choice but to try to pass it on to someone like him so he can have a home for his comedy and everything.
Yeah, and that, like you said, they're doing right too.
Yeah. And so I love seeing that. As long as the entertainment is here, I'm happy. That's all I want for the community, man, is to have entertainment, man.
Yep. That's really dope that you brought a lot of entertainment out here over the years, for sure, because Live in Humboldt was big, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to tell you, but I'm just telling you from the audience side,
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. So then you stayed very active in the culture in Humboldt County over the last 20 plus years.
Yeah. Humboldt is me, and I am Humboldt, man. We are one. So always repping my H, Blo Somem Entertainment. If you don't know something, blow something. That's what I like to say. It always gets you in the right mind.
That's it. Yeah. Shout out to Blo Somem,
Thank you.
Hey, man. So talk about before the Live in Humboldt years, maybe. What was it looking like around then?
Before the Live in Humboldt years, I was still in the scene. Like I said, I was more like the networker. I knew places to throw shows. I knew places to do this. I would go attend to them and all that, but I was running around. I couldn't commit to doing a lot of things. So we did shows at the Grange. I did shows across the street at the Grange when I was young. I did shows. We had to go to Club West. I performed with Too Shorts, the E40s, everybody for many, many years, as they came through here and stopped. So it was just like getting on the bill, with the promoters. I never was doing any promoting back then. I was running around taking care of my kids. But I would always stop on a scene or at parties when there people would get on the mic. I'd always just get on the mic and stuff like that. So it's just more like vibing, and the presence of hip hop is here, even though it ain't just busted through yet. The presence was very, very thick around.
Yeah.
And so what you did was you try to just get in, like again, Chris was not Chris, but DJ Baby J, Josh Underrated. He was big and active, you know, and running around, and he also had help when later on Ton came, you know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
they started really putting the business aspect of it. And big shout out to Ole Pearson.
Yeah, shout out to Ole for sure. Diamondback.
Diamondback's my boy. I grew up with Ole most of my life. A lot of people don't know he went to school and all that, and he worked with Kid Rock, had a lot of people in his learning experience. So when he came back, he started putting together shows. He's through the Summer Fest, you know what I mean? And when he started putting together these shows, that's actually what sparked, you know, Potluck and them all. We're at the same show, same year the albums was coming out. They got the main slot. We went a little early because I wasn't as passionate about it. I was just on the scene doing everything. But Ole was the reason why a lot of people started getting the shows. He was the promoter up here. He was embedded in hip hop up here. He wanted the hip hop community up here to blow up, and so he made a heavy presence and gave a lot of people opportunities to be able to get their art out there in Humboldt as far as hip hop and music. And so big shout out to Ole.
Yeah, that's crucial. What Ole did for this community, that's absolutely crucial, because without folks like that and what he did, who knows where this community would be? It would be much further behind.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah. So yeah, he grew up here, had the love for here, brought the love back. You know, same vision. Ole, he's a good dude, man. And so he was responsible for a lot of the stuff around here too. You know what I mean? And so without just hooking up and doing that, you see what shows he was doing. You try to get on the shows. He actually, far back as I remember, he helped the Moonshine Bandits. He actually took them all, was their tour manager for a while, jumped on that, kind of put everything on the back burner here, and made a lot of headway when they were up and coming and taking off too. So so I always was watching that around, and I was like, you know, and Ole used to always say, you need to get me an album. You should just please give me a year, just put something out, man. I love the music and all that. So I started slowly getting back into writing songs or putting songs down and performing and all of that stuff. So it's been a fun experience, man, the whole time. Yeah.
You know, it's one of the interesting things that I've heard that happens in Humboldt a lot is there's these few personalities that, I don't want to say push, but, you know, in a certain way kind of push people with talent, to be real about it, people with talent into the right positions in certain ways. And there's been Ole that's done that a lot, it sounds like to me. A dude named Jubal that's out there, done a lot. Big Daddy did that a lot. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Big Daddy.
Shout out to Big Daddy.
Yeah, there's another dude out there. He's a teacher around here, Zig Zilla. He's a local rapper. He's done it a lot with the youth. You know what I'm saying? Like some of them are more, you know, it's hard to want to get out there sometimes, but he's like, when he sees that talent, he's like, no, go do it. You know what I'm saying? And that's crucial. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's how the stars are made.
Yeah, exactly. When I was young, we didn't have the equipment, you know what I'm saying, and all of that. And then growing up here, not a lot of people was in the hip hop, so the equipment wasn't available or ready, or you couldn't get the help. And so when I started running into rappers that are great, you know, rappers, and at the beginning they didn't know, I tried to tell them, you need to know the science of rap. Like, I could go down to the bay with a fishing pole and throw the pole in and say I'm a fisherman, but I don't know the science behind fishing. What bait, what hook, what weight for the river opposed to the ocean, opposed to the lake, the actual science behind fishing. And so I try to tell some of the rappers, even when I see them now, I'm like, you can freestyle. It even took me a while. You you can freestyle and be good with your words and all that, but if you don't know the science of rap, it makes it hard to record. Like when I say, okay, I need you to do an ad-lib track, and you don't know what an ad-lib track is, or I need you to double it, or I need you to do this, we're just gonna do that. And they're like, oh, and they get it and start freestyling their whole song again, and they're passionate about their art, and you see it in them, but it's hard sometimes to get them to understand that there is a science behind making music, and you could be great with your words and all that, but if you never understand the science, it's gonna be hard for people to work with you. It costs you a lot of money in the studio because you don't understand it. You're like, why do these guys stand like this? And then they have to have somebody come in and try to teach you the science of hip hop or make it a song. So I try to start with everybody right off and keep it doing like you need to know the science. Like you're great, but I need you to know what a dub track is. So this is what a dub track is. This is what an ad-lib track is. This is your time to do all this. So yeah, it's it's good watching the youth grow because there's so many talented people out there. And I know that I did a lot of time not knowing what these tracks were, you know, so I spent a lot of money in the studio going back, going over, going that, not understanding the science behind music too. So I try to give the youngsters and everybody an understanding of the science. And all of them are like, oh, you kind of, a lot of them, when you see it, it's kind of like a good feeling. Because you know they're going to be able to use their talent now.
Yeah, it's really crucial, you know what I mean? Like, it really sounds like you were doing like that, like you said, like artist development. That's like A&R, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like you really developing those artists around here for a long time, man.
Yeah, just give them confidence in themselves because, you know, that's what you need. It's confidence to do anything you want to do, man, no matter what it is. And I just like entertainment as a whole, and I got to make a whole bunch of songs, you know, and make some albums and do that with my music. And that's all I really want to do, be it hip-hop, promote it, and, you know, inspire people to follow hip-hop if that's what they want to do. You know what I mean? Even if you don't want it as a career, if you're not looking for make big money, but you have art that you want to express, don't hold back. Go out there, put it down, let people hear it. If you only have 3 songs, a lot of people say, oh, I haven't heard you write a song in a long time. And I'm like, yeah, but every time I perform my song, it's somebody's first time hearing that song. So don't always be in a rush to put a bunch of songs out. You want to say your first 2 or 3 songs till you hate them, but the crowd can sing them word for word. And every time you sing that song, perform it, I guarantee it's somebody's first time, you know, a pack of people's first time. So even when you feel like a song's not good, or you're tired of it, you need to write new, that's just when you need to perform that song more to where you can have that fan base. But sometimes you get caught up in writing a bunch of songs, and then when you go to the concert, you done wrote 5 more songs, but you just performed the first songs at the last concert, and they're coming to hear those songs, but you got 5 more songs that are good, but how are they going to sing along? How do you have crowd participation if you don't feed them and feed them and feed them with songs? So I tell people I don't make a whole bunch of songs. The songs I make are dope. I got some unreleased songs. I never was part of any movement. So my music kind of goes with any session, any season. I do the hyphy movement, I do the theist movement, even though I liked all of that and it was all a good part of hip hop. I just got OEB music, so it's like timeless, you know what I mean? And that's kind of how I like to make music.
That's really dope. You know, it with you showing folks those lanes like that of like how to do this properly, you know what I'm saying? That's work that is behind the scenes a lot of the times. Like the people don't see that, you know, the audience at the shows, they're not seeing all that work that goes into developing the artist and the culture like you did.
Yeah, and then at that time, I was just doing it because that's who I am, you know what I mean? I think of it as developing, but you want everybody to be the best they could be. You want to put a positive aura around anything that's going on. So I always try to put that out there, man. And like I said, when I see the people perform like Highway, great, you know what I mean? And his father, Nate, you know, rest in peace, was a great man.
Yeah.
When a lot of people, when I was young, and a lot of people wouldn't play our music or let us record, rest in peace to the Prince, you know what I'm saying, Mystery, little bro. But my little bro and me, we used to record at Nate's house in his living room. When Highway was a little guy, he'd be sitting on the couch with his rhyme book, you know what I'm saying? And we'd be recording. I was like, let me see your rhyme book. He's like, no, not right now. He's kind of shy and all that stuff. But to see him develop into the great artist that he is today, and be able to, for me to flash back that his dad was around giving me, you know, action at recording my music so he could put it on the radio for me. And he showed me what a radio cut was. It was actually the beginning of me not cussing in none of my songs. I didn't want to keep having to make 2 cuts. You know what I mean? So I was like, man, we have to do this. I don't like the bleeping and all that. But he let me know, he educated me on how it had to be done. And he actually helped me as an artist, because then I just started writing my songs without cuss words and without too many cuss words, so we didn't have to modify them at all. And so, yeah, when I look back and see how laced it Highway is in the game, like he's had his dad his whole life. I was lucky enough to cross paths with this great man who gave me action when I was a young kid that I wouldn't have had out here, but he's seen it in me and the passion in me and all of that too. So that's like one of the best things I like looking back on, seeing some of the young artists like Highway that have been around for a long time. And I remember being so deep into it before, and see the mounds and everything that he's tore down to become the great artist he is today.
Yeah, a literal living legend in Humboldt County.
Yes.
You know, still out there to this day doing shows. I mean, almost every month. You know, and I'm not trying to say like he's overexposing himself, but he stays active in the community.
He does, and he deserves it. He's been here, and I've watched his craft sharper and sharper for a long time, and he's hungry and he's put in the work, and so he deserves his just, and he's a good rapper. There's a lot of good artists out here, you know what I'm saying? Like Mac Wan is one of the ones on BSC on my record label. He came from the South. You know, a lot of them now, they have these albums out and I got songs recording, but you know, they don't perform no more. We all get a little older, we got families and all that stuff. But he's a great artist that a lot of people might know him. Ghetto Shakespeare, Los Giano, him and, you know, Free Jack and a couple of people that were just older than me that I watched come up. They were great artists, and you know, the Dion's and the Pookies, and you know, there's just artists that are around here that just haven't got the exposure but have nice songs, you know what I mean?
And skills, yeah.
Yeah, and shout out Trey Trick too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of artists out here that just haven't had the chance to be exposed and get that exposure. But Humboldt's always producing dope artists, along with Garth Cultivator. Shout out to Garth, you know what I'm saying? I watched, you know, him do things for a long time, and the Dirty Rats, you know what I mean? Like I said, I've watched all of these people put their marks and express their art and put it out there. I watched Humboldt embrace it, and them embrace Humboldt, and you know, so it was like, it's always been a good scene, and I respect every artist, and I definitely like to rep the artist that's right here in the H, man. I throw my H's up everywhere I go, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what's up. It's such a dope culture, you know, no matter what, you know, kind of, you know, whether you're interested in hip hop, that's really going to be, you know, like BSC's really hitting, you know, I want to say like it's kind of harder hip hop, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then there's other lanes too out here. It's out here in Humboldt County, you know. You gave a lot of shout outs to BSC. So let's talk about BSC, you know, because you've been responsible for a lot of growth. So with BSC, how did it get started?
Oh, what it got started with me is being around, wanting to give back, and knowing that I need a venue to do something in and some structure, you know, and a lot of people that couldn't afford it, like some of the rappers that I mentioned earlier, like me coming up, I was kind of like, you know what, I'm gonna get a venue together. I'm gonna do a little entertainment service. That's why it's Blo Somem Entertainment, and it's not a record label because I'm for all entertainment, every form of entertainment. But it was just about getting rappers together from around here and trying to give them a place to go. So a lot of people is like, I've always been a solo artist, but I got so many artists, I didn't want to put one in front of the other. So when I book, we kind of all get up there. So each group will be up there and do 2 or 3 songs, but then vibe together as a whole, almost like a Wu-Tang, but I didn't want to be a Wu-Tang, but I wanted to give everybody exposure to whereas when I broke up for the solo albums, they would already be exposure, like putting on a compilation of the old days. You put a bunch of rappers on there so everybody got a little bit of exposure. So I try to run BSC kind of like that, get some artists, give them all exposure, and try to make the money. And even not in hip hop, like shout out Blo Somem, Blo Somem signed to BSC and he fully automatic doing his own thing. I've never had to say nothing, do nothing, be in the field, just be supportive. And he's a dope artist. And Joe Dominic, you know what I'm saying? He is a good artist too. Plays, he almost got signed and made it big, playing that guitar, doing like a little country thing. So I love all forms of music and entertainment. So I just try to give everybody a chance. That's kind of how I went with BSC. Book the shows, have a venue so they could come through here, and then put my artists up too. You know what I'm saying? In front of them, jump on the tours. We went on tour with Filthy Rich, and we brought Devin the Dude and different things. That's always wanted to get everybody exposure, and then let them go to kind of blow up themselves and give them that first step exposure.
That's really dope, OEB. Hey man, because one of the things that you hear a lot, at least I'm a music head, and I follow, like the big labels and all the things that people say about Dreamville, Top Dog Entertainment, all this and all that. One of the complaints that people have against one of my favorite labels, Top Dog, is that they stay in control. They stay in too much control of artists and their work and all this and all that. And so then artists only get to drop once every so often and all this and all that kind of thing, right? Like you were coming from it from a completely different perspective. You're just trying to help and support the culture and these artists. So you're like, hey, let them get that exposure and then run with it from there. That's super dope because you already seen and know, you've been in this culture and I think that's one of the things in Humboldt County that's been interesting is how the media has been reluctant to give hip hop I would say a fair share of exposure. Yeah. And so then helping artists get that exposure becomes even that much more meaningful.
Yeah. Exactly, and all my artists, I wasn't in control of them. I tell them, we sign contracts for this help, and if you never do nothing with the help, that's all right. You know what I'm saying? You gotta give your shots a dream. If you blow up off the help, I'm not attaching all your money. Just give me my money back that I invested in you, and not a penny more. Now, if you put financial value on the help that I gave you, then you will talk from there if you want to give me some help. But I never signed a contract where I own you this and your rights to that. You own all your rights. I buy the beats, you make the music, I provide the spot, I'm trying to get you exposure. I'm doing this anyway, but no way, shape, or form are you like contracted, well, you can't leave or you can't do this or you can't go out there and hustle and make yourself self-known and all that stuff. I'm just a platform to go. I'm not trying to hold nobody back or anything like that. So I've always just shot it straight like that. Put my own money in. If you make it, you give me my money back. That's the only thing I want. If you don't, enjoy the exposure. You got a chance to live out and kind of go for your dreams. And so I've always just been just like that. I just want everybody to get exposure.
That's really dope, OEB. Hey, I wanted to say that that's the exact opposite of what it could have been, which is you could have been with the level of support and respect that you have had in the community, you could have been gatekeeping, but you did the exact opposite. You opened the gate.
Yes. Go ahead, do your thing and get exposure. That's the main thing. And I think when we were younger and they had, everybody's divided. I think I'm glad to see Humboldt coming together as more of a community now. We all talk and intervene with each other and all that, which it wasn't like that all the time. There was different groups. So this group really didn't want you on the bill with them, and everybody's trying to come up. So it was kind of like everybody was dogged at everybody in the community. It was more like a city scene than a community scene. And so that I'm glad to see the walls breaking down and people are actually doing it. I've been lucky enough just to be one of the ones that could always vibe in every one. That's how I met these different artists and I did it, but these artists had walls up against these artists and these artists had walls up against these artists, but I was the only one that's wiggling through everybody like, what are we doing? I understand it. So it's nice to see everybody coming together now as one. They kind of understand, like, we're all one. Like, Humboldt stand up. We're here.
That's it. Humboldt stand up.
And there is different genres. I like all hip hop. It don't have to. I like the gangster rap. I like the love songs. I like the party songs. I like the educational songs. You know what I'm saying? I like all types of hip hop. You know what I mean?
Yep. That's one of the beautiful things about hip hop is there's so many different lanes, different subgenres, you know what I mean? But as things change and things progress, you have new sounds that come out. And as hip hop has become something, I feel like hip hop, I said this before on the podcast, but hip hop has become more mainstream, and so like portions of hip hop have become like, I want to say like pop. There's like a hip hop that's kind of the more popish, you know what I'm saying? And then there's the, hip hop that I grew up on, which is the more like, I grew up on Clips.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Stuff
Clips
like,
is raw.
Yeah, and nowadays you have like Griselda keeping that kind of like that drug rap going, you know what I mean, on the mainstream level and everything. But I really like what's happened in Humboldt because cannabis and the hip hop community in Humboldt County have been intertwined for so long. And so there's a portion of like Humboldt County hip hop that is like, like smoker rap, stoner rap, you know what I'm saying? It's positive rap, you know what I'm saying? I like that about Humboldt County hip hop, and it's stayed true over time.
Yeah. Well, like I said, with Mental Case, one of the first songs I think that I started getting recognition for that he threw together was we're smoking a joint in his apartment downtown overlooking the water, and the music was playing, and I forget who it was. They was holding the joint too long, and I'm like, puff, puff, pass, so the joint will last. You know what I'm saying? Then they started saying that all night, and next thing you know, it was a song. I was in the booth freestyling about smoking, and that was the hook, puff, puff, pass. And I stumbled a little bit and all that, but we cracked up laughing. Then I came back a week later, and I'm hearing people at the schools like, puff, puff, pass. I'm like, what's going on? I went back to Casey, like, OEB, look at this song I put together. And he played it for me. I was like, yo, this is kind of dope. So one of the first songs that I think I ever got recognition for, even freestyling on Padded Box, was a weed song. It was Puff Puff Pass.
That's dope, man. That's so crazy too. Just real quick, a little side note, man. It's interesting to see the generations of that, because I want to give a real quick shout out to Rowdy and the boys from City Hippie, because they released a track last year called Puff Puff Pass. And that thing is fire, man.
I never had a chance to hear it, but I like City Hippie too. I performed with those. They performed at some of the shows and stuff too. Very good group. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that the smoker rap around here there's a certain vibe, and the younger cats have taken the torch.
Yeah, gotta keep it smoking.
Hey, even as we definitely keeping it smoking now, because weed prices have changed. I want to give a quick shout out to all the farms out there, because as the cannabis community is going through transitions and everything like that, the recent times has been the price drop. It's been the biggest issue and everything like that, and that's like affecting the community because there's less dollars coming into the Emerald Triangle, right?
It definitely is.
Go ahead.
It's definitely less dollars coming in. I've seen the change. I've seen the drop, and Yeah, big shout out to all local farmers, staying in the grind with it, you know, trying to keep it on a local business level and not just letting the corporations take over. So big shout out for standing up and doing that fight. I have some legal farms and legal businesses myself. Like me and my boys, we started Humboldt's Finest, and then we went to Humboldt's Finest Extracts, and we were one of the ones where it first started, the first price drop, and we were like, you know what, we're just gonna start making live resin. So we started a legal live resin business, and we did it for a long time and won some High Times awards and did all that. But the politics of it, when they were trying to figure out, well, this area is going to be legal or this area is going to be legal, then, you know, they only had so many areas. So at one time, like renting a building over in Samoa at $10,000 a month, and then renting a building downtown and renting a building here because they didn't know what's going to be the legal grounds. But, you know, so big up to the people still surviving.
Yeah.
I ended up being lucky enough to sell my business off because it had enough exposure to sell my business and retire out of the weed game and just keep my properties for my goats.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Hey, it really sounds like one quick thing I want to note in that it sounds like you were doing what the smart. Let me rephrase this. Let me make sure I say this properly. You did what I think a lot of the farmers and businesses are now realizing was completely necessary. You did it early in that you focused on a niche. What you said, the live resin or the resin, what was it?
Yeah, it was live resin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when we're the first ones the first ones that I know of up here, that we would just clear cut our whole fields and freeze them in our freezer trucks and then run live resin out of them to actually start putting it in the pens and doing every other thing. And so it was like most farmers started being like, well, we're not getting enough. And then they started contracting us to come clear cut their fields and push in the live resin for percentages and stuff like that. So I was actually lucky to see it the first time and kind of get out, find a niche in it. We won some High Times awards. We had great products. We were all over to where we attracted enough attention for somebody to come in and purchase the company, you know what I mean?
That's dope. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to you for that,
man. Thank you, man. Shout out to Humboldt for supporting me and all that. Shout out for hip hop, all of that. A lot of people know me from hip hop, so they follow my products, they follow my commercials based on that. So all of that, you know, I couldn't have did it without the Humboldt love and support of the hip hop community, which branches out deeper than the average person expects. Because there's hip hop heads in the lawyer's office, there's hip hop heads in the courthouse, there's hip hop heads everywhere. So, you know, the support comes from everywhere. There's hip hop heads in the police station, you know what I mean? So the support doesn't just come from one certain type of person. There's hip hop heads everywhere. It's all a conglomerate mix, you know what I'm saying, that makes this whole thing possible. So big up for Humboldt supporting me and the things that I did and endeavors that I did, and stay looking forward to more BSC action. Yeah,
for real. Shout out to BSC, everybody on BSC. You know, do you have any, real quick, I wanted to shout you out for BSC. Somebody's going to be at that, the True Justice show, right?
Yeah, we're going to be there at True Justice. What can I say? If you know True, you know it's gonna be a great show, and all the work that they put in. You know, I'm just happy to be a part of that, and happy to be mentioned when they come up to Humboldt for hip hop. Just to be mentioned in that is a great honor, and all that too. So yeah, it's gonna be the next show.
Yeah, May 6th on that one at the Jam, y'all. So make sure you go down to the Jam May 6th. It's gonna be DJ True Justice, Z-Man, Total Devastation.
Okay, they coming?
Yeah, Total Devastation's gonna be there. Vocab Slick, hosted by Hap Hathaway. We got Z-Man there. My homie Albert, he's gonna be there. And then BSE.
Yeah, we there.
Yeah.
And big up the Hap Daddy, you know what I'm saying? Hap Hathaway, man, one of the best DJs, you know, that I've had the pleasure of coming across, man. Big up, man.
Yeah, he's gonna be hosting. That's gonna be fire.
He's a talented individual, man. Hap is Good man. He was my DJ. He was DJ for BSC. Got us off the ground. Went on all our tours with us. Put together our songs, our opening songs. Like, you know, big shout out to Hap, man. He was a big help in the BSC business, man.
That's what's up. Hey, shout out to Hap Hathaway. I'm gonna have to get Hap on this podcast at some point.
Yeah.
That's definitely Humboldt history.
Yeah, definitely, man. Hap is like Hap. One thing about Hap, I remember I went to a Mecca Cup up in Trinidad, and he was hired as the DJ. And he was like, give me your music a day ahead of time. I was like, why can't this bring it? He's like, well, I like to have all the music a day ahead of time, so I like to listen to it. So I'm like, all right, I'll bring it up there. I still didn't understand. Like this the learning and education that you get from people when you listen. And so I gave him my music. And then the next day, he's like, man, this is dope, man. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I love it. Because I gave him the whole songs that I gave him my show disc. He's like, I love it. He's like, you don't mind if I like scratch it and chop it up? It's not gonna throw you off or nothing, right? And I'm like, no, do your thing. I've never had a DJ do that. He just played my music. So I get up there, and if you ever listen to my rap, it's like story rap. So I can't say the third verse first or the first verse second. It's messed up. You know what I'm saying? I don't write, so it's just all story in my head. So sometimes I went into this song, and the first verse was perfect. And then the chorus came in, and I was looking at the crowd, and I see a girl, and I lost focus that quick. So bam, the second verse starts. And when the second verse starts, I had lost the second verse in my head, but I know the time. So I started just flowing, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm never going to just stop and be there and say, DJ, bring that back or nothing. So I just started flowing, and I'm flowing with it, and I remember that I just remember I was just freestyling, and then right when the beat dropped, I said, yeah, and he man in the game, and you she man like RuPaul, and it was right on, and he went, and stopped it, and I was freestyling, and I looked back at him, and he was like, man, that wasn't the song that I heard last night. I figured, like, did I mess up? I was like, no, you was right on time. Right there. Yeah. I said, man, I need you with me everywhere. You need to be like DJ. It was like, I learned right there, there's a reason you just don't show up the day of to a DJ who's not used to you, and you give them your music. And as a DJ, they have an art too. Like sometimes they stop and they hear stuff that can actually add to your performance and help you. And they know this for their years and their education at the game. You may not see that as an artist or a rapper, but a DJ will see that. And so I've always told my boys, we need to get the music in a day ahead of time. I tell the DJs, we need to get our music to you a day ahead of time. Now, whether they listen to them or not, that simple interaction that Hap held himself to, that ended up saving me on stage in mid-concert, mid-performance, the education of Hap blew my mind. So yeah, shout out to Hap, man.
Yeah, shout out Hap Hathaway, man. That's really dope, though. It's those little things like that. That's setting the bar high. That's keeping that bar up for everybody in this community. That's doing nothing but supporting everybody in this culture. You know, that's dope.
Yeah, it will. And again, when I perform, if I mess up, you know I messed up. Like I don't have a background track. I don't have none of that going on. I really feel like as an artist, as a hip hop artist, you are the instrument. So there's people that have to play a guitar and keep that and sing at the same time. So people playing the drums and doing all that. As a hip hop artist, you are the instrument. And so I don't believe in having music playing in the background. I believe in being out of breath when I'm doing the show. I believe if I slip up in the middle of the verse, you're gonna hear just music playing behind. There's nothing to help you when you're really performing at your art. You know, and that's one reason why I never wrote anything too. After that first battle in 6th grade of that Mix-a-Lot thing, I started realizing if the new hot artist comes out with a song, kids will memorize it word for word. Hip hop heads, artists will remember it word for word. So if you could remember the next man's art word for word, but not your own, how deep are you into your own craft? Facts. So I never wrote on paper. I never did none of that. I said, if I could remember the hottest song on the market word for word, but can't give my own art the same respect, then what am I really doing in this? So hip hop means different to me than just performing or having a tight beat. I dislike singing over voices because I feel like as an artist, I'm it. You know, I won't perform if I ain't prepared for it. Like I used to perform in my living room every day, running around, rehearsing, because it's different saying your song, sitting down, eating chips, and then getting on a stage and having to be active and you're out of breath and you're sweating. So if I ain't put in the work to give a good performance, I will put other artists on stage and people will be like, why aren't you performing? And I'll tell them the truth. It's like any other sport. I haven't worked out enough to give you my full, and I don't want to disrespect you, get up there, get to singing over something or do anything like that. I won't do it. I respect the craft too much and my art too much.
Yeah. OEB, I am so thankful you brought that conversation up, man. That's a real one in terms of the type of thing that keeps the bar high in Humboldt County with this Humboldt County hip hop shit.
Yeah.
Like this culture has continued to thrive around here because of people like you keeping that bar high at the shows. You know what I'm saying? Like we need to continue that energy. It's because what you said, every single thing you said is all facts, and so I hope that the artists out there that are listening to this take that into consideration. I understand that there's going to be different, potentially like, you know, opinions on that. But if you value your craft, you should want to go out there and even set yourself up to be vulnerable. You know what I mean? Like you can't always have the crutch.
If you make a mistake, we're all human. We all make a mistake. The crowd understands you made a mistake. The crowd will go with it. Some people don't know they have that cut so long, even if you have the music playing in the background, and you still make the mistake, and then you're talking to the DJ, DJ, bring that back, DJ, bring it. Oh, I don't know what, oh, the DJ tripping, y'all, and you start doing all this stuff. DJ had nothing to do with you slipping on your own craft.
Yeah.
And so I was always one that had major respect for DJs, because again, hip hop attracted me before the rapper, when it was just DJs battling who can get the party hype. They're gonna spit it and go to the next song, like DJ Baby J and how he used to make his mixtapes. What DJ could keep the crowd hype with the latest songs and putting their twist on it? That's how I started hip hop and watched it evolve to then they'd have one of their homeboys like, well, my DJ's nice, check how he scratch, and then pointing the DJ still would do most of it. And the MC would just do little hints and bring the attention back to his DJ, to the rapper just wanting all the attention now. Now the DJ's in the background, the rapper's saying every word. You know, I watched the whole switch in hip hop to me in my lifetime. I watched the whole transfer. So I always respect a good DJ. And that's what got me into hip hop. It wasn't the rappers, it was the DJs keeping the party high. And I watched it kind of change until the MC was supposed to be there to talk good about a DJ to just take it over the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like hip hop as true as I always respect the DJ.
Yeah, that's so crucial around here, man, because you know that DJs are one of the, I don't mean to talk about DJs like this, but like, you know, they're a resource that's in short supply.
Yeah. And
so you really got to make sure around here that you're paying respect to the people that are keeping the music rolling during shows, man.
Yeah. Keep it rolling during shows. I done had the music just black out, like the mic just stopped. And then I just start doing my show a cappella, you know what I mean? And then the music come back on, they all feel like it's part of the show. They feel like they're closer to you, they didn't hear it. The crowd's feeling it, especially if you're singing that song that you're tired of, but everybody knows it. So they're helping you sing it. You go through your acapella parts like that. The new experience that somebody gets was the first time. They haven't seen nobody doing it acapella at no big show in the city or anything, because that craft is getting further and further away because everybody's relying on the music playing in the background and this and the auto-tone and all the stuff. So being acapella and giving it straight to the crowd is becoming lost. And I don't like to get all tricky and speedy with my lyrics. I want you to understand what I'm saying. I'm not trying to trick you. I want you to understand. You can get the audio book of this. You feel what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I approach the rap and my delivery and my art personally.
That's what's up. You know, one other thing, looping back to something that you said earlier, I feel like you were kind of on top of the game, knew the direction that the game was going to go into early, because you said something earlier where you were like, you don't need to make a whole bunch, don't need to write and make a whole bunch of songs that you got in the clip, and then you're constantly releasing, like, you know, doing a performance, and the next performance you're doing like brand new songs, and the next performance you're doing brand new songs and everything like that. Because nowadays the real direction is like, you know, everything's streaming.
Yeah.
And so you can make an album. People definitely, of course, still drop albums. That happens plenty. But the real flow of music now is artists dropping singles. Most of the music dropping is singles and some EPs and things like that. And albums like once every year, once every 2 years, 3 years, something like that, depending on the artist, you know. And that's just the direction of how it's gone. So you were already moving in that direction of like, let's focus on, you know, the songs that we got that we're going to go out there, perform, get people stoked on, you know,
History repeats itself. If you look at it, like very basic, I like to say crayons and blank paper. I don't try to confuse myself. I like to keep it simple. And most songs back in the day came out with a single and an instrumental on the side. And then somewhere over the craft of trying to outdo each other, we get it's kind of like putting too much of your product out there. Well, I'm gonna put 20 albums on, I'm gonna put 20 songs on this, I'll put 20 songs on that. And most of those albums, you got 5 dope ones on the whole album. Now you get used to the other ones and you groove with them and you understand them, but there's those 5, there's those, you know, hitters. So if you just concentrate on 1 or 2, because history repeats itself, so it comes back around. So that's what I was just trying to get it back to, and knew it was going to go back to, because it was getting too convoluted. Even one of the best rappers that I think is one of the best rappers, rest in peace, Mac Dre, he was dropping, he said he's going to drop an album a month for a year. And he was doing it. And a lot of those albums was tight, they were catchy. That Thiz Nation came on. But that was very, very dope. It hadn't been done before. I still feel like he was giving out more product than he needed to. But the way the artist decided to put the art out there is on them. And that was a new way that hadn't been done before, dropping an album a month and saying, I got this and this is what I could do. Because I was like basically saying, hey, I got art.
Yep, you know? I'm doing it, staying busy. Yeah, you know, somebody else that does that I like, underground rapper Currency. He just stays consistent.
I heard about him.
Yeah, he's just, I mean, he drops. There was a point in time where he was doing that. He was dropping like a mixtape a month, you know, and everything like that. You got the work involved there, man. I think a lot of people, you know, most people are fans of music, you know, and they're not seeing the work that's involved with that. But there's, I mean, that's hours and hours, sleepless nights, you know, put into being able to drop a mixtape a month.
Yeah.
You know, people do it though.
Yeah, that's art. I think it was MySpace. When I first started doing it on MySpace, I used to have this little segment. I would go, you know, if you don't like what I'm saying, remember this is my space, not your space, my space. Like, holla at your boy. I was doing bars by one where I would wake up every day. I'm like, I'm just gonna wake up every day and put a verse down. So every day I'd wake up, put a verse down, do bars by one, load it up, do that, and and I didn't know that the work was catching traction. I was just doing it and all that, and I hear it. Then when I stopped doing it, I started getting, I said, what happened? You ain't doing bars by one no more and this and all that. And I was just like, dang, it was actually catching on. And I had stopped doing it like 2 weeks or 3 weeks in, but every day I would just get up and put a verse down and all that. And didn't realize it was actually catching traction. And it was, so I look back at my experience in hip hop, even with dealing with DJ Khaled. My MySpace, with DJ Khaled before he blew up, he was putting together the first mixtape, and he, when Flow Rider, he was putting Flow Rider on back then. He came into my MySpace and he was like, yo, I like your music. I need you to send me 3 songs. You send me 3 songs. I'm going to use 2 out of 3 on my disc. What I'm not going to do is pay you. He wanted me to send him $500 and 3 songs. And this is back in the gap before he was famous. Me sending him $500 and 3 songs. And what he was going to do is put the 2 songs on his tape. And then he was going to send me 500 CDs on there that I could sell for whatever I want to get my money back. Sell it for $1 a CD, if I sell it for $5 a CD, to get my money back. And back then I'm like, well, why I'm finna send you $500 and give you the rights to 3 of my songs, you know what I'm saying, for you to send me this and have me work for my money.
Right.
But so I didn't do it, needless to say, and then Flow Rider blew up. He was telling me, you, Flow Rider, he was giving me a little extra to who he was reaching out to. And then DJ Khaled and Flow Rider blew up out of nowhere. And I'm sitting here like, dang. Like, you talk about not seeing it coming. That was not seeing it coming, you know, because no doubt in my mind, if I had any of my songs on the actual mixtape, it blew him up and Flow Rider up. So I believe, you know, if we going to the gym, I'm not going to lose. I feel like that could have been a life-changing situation. When I look back on it, I'm like, dang.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy how life goes like that. You never know sometimes. You never know who's going to be. Because that's, for me, man, I'm real. Scamming is crazy out there nowadays. And people just being shiesty and stuff. And so I'm real careful, you know. And so that's definitely the type of thing where I would be in the same mindset where you were coming from. Where I was like, this is a lose-lose almost for me. I'm having to pay you to work.
And I'm going to have to sign over 3 of my songs, you know what I mean, and send them to you. And it wasn't proven. Like, I never heard of him. I never heard of DJ Khaled ever at that point.
Yeah.
You know, when MySpace was out. When he was in my DM when he made it, I never had heard of him at all. I heard of him now, though.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's so crazy. It goes like that. A real quick story, just a side note. You know, I work for this company, Stream Guys, you know. And years ago, man, we had, before Kanye West blew up, we had Kanye West come in as a lead. And he had this, you know, his team had this idea of like, we want to have this whole like streaming platform and this kind of thing and everything like that. And you know, the sales guy working the account was like, nah, this guy ain't gonna be nothing, and didn't pursue it, man. Well, you know, that's how it goes, you know. Life, that's how the cookie crumbles, you know what I'm saying? So, but it sounds like to me that you still, you know, through that, you know, you still, of course, did so much for this community that there's been so much respect that you gained over the years for what you've done. You know, I feel that even still, like Blo Somem Entertainment right now is on top of the game in Humboldt County. You know, people know about Blo Somem. They want to come out to Blo Somem shows. And so, you know, shout out to you for continuing to just support this culture.
Yeah.
You know.
I never will. This is like I said, Humboldt is my home, man. Anywhere in Humboldt, you dig into the ground, I'm somewhere yelling, ouch. Because I feel it, you know, deep rooted, you know, it is. So, another thing, thanks for all the people that support. I see the Blo Somem shirts out there. I will be getting new shirts and hats. And of course, again, you know, there's only one way to get your Blo Somem apparel, and that's to be at the shows. Like I don't charge for my apparel. I paid for marketing, posters, the interviews, the plays, and all that. That gets expensive. So I buy my shirts and hats and all that in all sizes, and then I give them away at the shows. After my shows, I give them away. Because if I ask somebody, hey, how much are you going to charge me to wear a shirt and a hat? They're going to actually take time to think about what they should charge me. But if I give them a shirt and a hat, they're going to put it on and represent me for no charge. And that costs money. The flyers cost money. The billboards cost money. The cost of buying shirts and hats to have walking billboards is priceless, and it's nowhere near what a sign on the side of the freeway is going to cost. So my marketing strategy is kind of different. You can't buy it, you can't order it, you can't do none of that. Thank you for the support. You want to get a shirt, be at a show and get your free shirt, your free hat.
Yeah.
It's the only way you can get BSE apparel.
That's really dope, man. I like that you have a real sense with this marketing game.
Yeah.
That's definitely something that I'm taking as a takeaway from this whole time with you, is that from all the work that you've done, you have an eye for, you know, how to put people out there, what to put out there, you know what I'm saying? Because I never thought about that myself. And I'm, you know, just doing a little podcast merch and everything like that. But I'm, you know, and I've been giving it out to the artists when they come on and stuff like that. But, you know, I've slowed down and I'm more like, let me just sell it out there. But, you know, you got to be getting it out there, because that walking billboard, like you said, it is priceless, man, because that starts to snowball from there. When people see somebody supporting you, they're more likely to support you.
Yeah, that's 100%. A lot of shows, like we went to Montana and Ohio's and the Washingtons and all that. That's the best feeling, because they like go to a show that's like our festival that lasts all week, and we may perform main stage one time and then the side stage. But after the first performance and the crowd kind of hearing us, and then the first handouts, and then the rest of the festival, you kind of see people with the shirts on and the hats because they're dope, and they're walking around, and they'll come there with a certain artist shirt and stuff on if they support it, but they didn't know us, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, when I go to a show, and even if I'm the new artist, say I'm undercarded to a big artist that's really the one that's selling out the show, I'm looking at all the potential fans. I'm like, they're gathering all here. Now, they came here fans of hip-hop and this person. They're going to leave here fans of hip-hop, this person, and BSC, you know, when they leave here. So I look on trying to stamp that into to every crowd that I could get into. And the free merch, it keeps me from having to be behind the merch booth all night. I ain't got no time to be behind no merch booth. I ain't got no time to worry about nobody pocketing money. I ain't got no time to crayons and blank paper. I keep it real simple. I get this merch and give it away. I'm gonna win like that. I'm gonna have walking billboards. I bring no tables. Don't have to worry about nothing. Done deal.
That's what's up, man. I got respect for that. You know, this culture, as small as this community is, and as, again, limited exposure exists for hip-hop, hip-hop has needed minds like yours to progress this culture over the years, man. So shout out to you for that.
Thank you.
That's important work.
Yeah, big up. Like I said, I owe it all to the community and how I was raised in Humboldt, man. Humboldt's made me the man I am today, you know. So none of this would be possible without Humboldt, man. So always Humboldt stand up and remember to stick together. We got something out here, man.
That's it. You know, that reminds me of something on a recent episode, the episode with One Ton that dropped a few weeks ago. He was talking about Greg Mack and the party.
Yeah.
And he said that Greg Mack was talking to him, and Greg Mack said, you know, Greg Mack remembers the scene in LA when Dre and NWA was coming up and the artists and what was going on. And Greg Mack told One Ton that what was happening in Humboldt in the potluck days and when things were really, rolling at that point, Greg Mack said it reminded him that what's happening out here reminded him the same thing of what was going on in LA. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of folks don't understand the beauty in the culture that has existed for so long. People are starting to now, get more visibility, as you got a lot of new students coming in at the Cal Poly Humboldt and everything like that. There's new people coming in. The county's going through transitions, but folks are interested in these shows and they see hip hop moving pretty strong. You know what I'm saying? And so it's so interesting that this culture has grown over the years, and I really like seeing now it's at this interesting point where there's so many people coming out for, artists coming out to do these shows. There's a lot of hip hop shows going now. My boy Two Tank is doing shows out here. Shout out to Two Tank.
Shout out to Two Tank. I've seen him coming up, another artist from out here.
Yeah, exactly. He's from out here. So you're born and raised Humboldt?
Born and raised. I'm 3 generations deep.
That's
right
what's
here.
up.
Grandpa pops for me. A lot of people, when they see me, they're always like, "Oh man, you from the Bay?" I tell them, "Yeah, the Humboldt Bay. Welcome to our lovely abode." They're like, "Well, you ain't from the city or nothing like that?" "No, from the Bay. You had it right the first time. The Humboldt Bay." You know what I mean? So yeah. I've been here And I love Humboldt. Humboldt's my roots, and I wouldn't change it for the world, man.
Mm-hmm.
And again, shout out to Franco. You know, I ain't seen it a long time, but Franco, I give him much respect. He's with the Dirty Rats. I don't know if you've heard of him and all that. But
I've seen him perform. He's dope.
Yeah, and he was a big, when I moved away from battle rapping, you know, I was in the streets, I was kind of doing everything. He was actually battle rapping and touring and going state to state. I've seen him in Oakland and all in the hood boys, you know what I'm saying? All the little white boy battling.
Holding it down,
you know, with lyrics. So shout out to Franco, you know what I mean? And and that Greg Mack, I remember Greg Mack at Potluck, and the one time they were doing this freestyle battle thing. They were doing that at Club West, you know, and I was moving around, running the streets. So I just flew into town, and I go to the club late, and they just he had just won. Franco had just won the battle again, and I come in and I'm back at the bar, and then all I hear is Tug say, "OEB in the house," and I'm like, "What's up?" You know, giving it all that, and then I don't know how it started, but the show was over, and the next day, you know, they're like, Franco wants to battle, you know what I mean? I'm fresh here, off the plane and stuff, just come to the club, and I'm like, what? And they're like, James, go up there and battle. I'm like, he wants to battle, I just got here. So we got up there, he had already won the battle, and against everybody else. And I got up there, and I'm pretty, you know, if I only get one vote, I'm usually for me. You feel what I'm saying? But I'm pretty sure that I ate him something tough. Mm-hmm. And he's a great artist. I'm pretty sure I ate him something tough. He had just won. A lot of people were kind of, I don't know how they felt about it, but they were yelling for him. Yelled loud for him, and then they yelled for me, and they did yell louder for him and all that. But if you look up ODB versus Franco on YouTube, they misspelled my name, and you guys be the judge. But after that battle, Franco came up to me and he was like, dude. And I was like, yeah, that's what I thought too, but the crowd thought different. Me and him, I appreciate him coming up and giving my respect. I did some songs with him on his albums. And yeah, I just want to give Franco a shout out, man, for representing Humboldt, battle rap style, you know, lyrical and everything, man. Shout out.
Yeah. Franco's another one of those interesting personalities where, like I said, a gem in Humboldt County, because he's one of the best battle rappers, I mean, probably in history, man.
Yes.
To be real about it after the stuff I've seen of him.
Yeah.
And he's coming out of Humboldt County.
Yeah. Yeah.
So folks can't say that there's not dope hip hop artists and dope hip hop coming out of Humboldt County. You just can't say that.
Cannot. Yep, it's here. And like I said, I haven't seen him in a few years. I've been moving back and forth and moving around and doing different endeavors. But yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to Franco. And I just watched that battle like a couple weeks ago, and I hadn't seen it in decades, like literal decades. And yeah, if you guys like Humboldt music and you want to see two great artists or battle rappers from Humboldt go at it decades ago, go check out that footage. It's ODB versus Franco on YouTube, a freestyle battle.
That's dope. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out.
Yeah.
Man, so in this time of you being involved with the scene in Humboldt County, is there a specific artist or story that stands out for you that you haven't talked about by chance? I'm just trying to pick your brain.
I think there's an artist that stands out to me in Humboldt County, and that is, he's underrated. His name was Von, or V-O-N. He dubbed himself the Almighty, you know, and he was, me and his style were like, I grew up, when he moved up here for the Bay Area, and then me being up here, I kind of like, they used to always call me, you know, the West Coast Red Man, and because I didn't come around the corner and just shoot somebody up. I might have bent the block and turned the heat on, and so more lyrical and stuff with my words. And this man was a beat maker. He is. You still catch him. He's out of Chico now, but Von the Almighty. But me and him used to just battle. When I first met him, he just comes up in the party. He's like, "Are you OEB, huh?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah." He's just like, "Well, what's up?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean, what's up?" He's like, "I want to battle." So, and that's back in the days of house parties before we get to clubs. So I used to battle with Von the Almighty at every house party, and he just never got the traction. He's a great artist. I've had done songs with him. I got some songs with him on my album. I think he rubbed. It was back in the day where the hip hop community was more segregated, and he actually had him and Baby J and them had kind of beef, and he did a song called Potluck and all of these things, and so he just really.
He was spicy.
Yeah, he was good. He was a great artist. He just didn't. I don't think he knew with all the stuff that was going on how to present himself in a different manner. And the time was just like, okay, battle my crew against yours and this, and how they were taking all this adaptive things that they see on TV and how it goes, and on the news and how it goes, instead of being a short community with a small community with a bunch of people here. So I think that's what stands out to me. Almighty, he's an underrated rapper who is a genius. You probably could catch some of his stuff on YouTube too. I don't know, Josh might even saved a little song because towards Joe. I remember Josh, it came out, Josh called, he's like, "Man, you got a diss song against us?" I was like, "Well, you know how you gotta go through." Like, no, it's dope, you know what I'm saying? I like it because Von had, he still does, he has lyrics. So yeah, there's one particular artist or something that stands out to me out of all the artists that I know, and there's great ones. Like I mentioned earlier, Ghetto Shakespeare, all these people are so good with the way they use words. I just think that Von, from him seeing at every party, he just walk up to me at a party. I said, "Oh, you OEB? Well, what's up?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I want to battle." And I'm like, "Who is this guy in here?" I'm like, "Well, let's battle here." You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's one thing that sticks out to me.
That's dope.
And big up Hot Von. He made some of my dopest beats for me too.
Okay.
And I like to send a shout out to Jason too. From making beats, Jay Brandy. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. He's
been dope a lot behind the scenes.
Art in general, man. Yeah. That dude is an artist.
Yeah, he's made some. He's been behind a couple of my beats and my slappers that people give me the credit for the song and all of that stuff. And again, I never put them out on albums. A lot of my stuff, I just go in there, drop it, and tell them, you guys can put it on stream or do whatever you do when I was doing that. But he always, has been making some dope beats behind the scene and never really says, "Oh, I made that beat," to take any credit for it. So he just makes beats and give them the artist so they would get his music out there. But I can't let him go unmentioned, man. Shout out to Jay.
Yeah, that's really dope, man. I mean, I just want to make sure real quick that we talking about the same dude, Jason Brandy from Humboldt Republic.
Talking about the same dude, man.
Wow, man. I'm glad that this podcast is getting his Humboldt history on there, man. That's dope.
Yeah, he's gave a lot of artists around here beats that he done made beats. He's a great beat maker and all that stuff. So, and he doesn't go after the credit. He doesn't. Most artists don't shout his name out at the shows and all that stuff. They just make great songs to his music, and he really doesn't get a lot of credit for it. So I want to make sure that he knows that I remember him. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to Jay, man. Yeah,
that's super dope, man. Because I know right now most of the community would probably know him through Humboldt Republic and all the clothing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's a popular brand around here. Yeah. And I keep an eye, because it's just dope designs, and he's consistently dropping fresh. I mean, it's, you know, he's staying ahead of the game.
The man's a genius. Like I say, there's so much talent in Humboldt. You know, it could get lost in business. And then I'm happy that Humboldt is now, like, say, opening up to let hip hop step out a little more. Because there was a lot of times, like even when I was starting my venue to live in Humboldt, they tried to give me problems with getting my liquor license from past things that had happened in that building. And I'm like, well, you can't judge me. I wasn't the owner then or anything like that. And so what I did is went and gave back. Like the BMX track needed money, like all the foundations that needed money, that I would just let them come set up and keep 100% profits of the alcohol sales, just so I could have alcohol at the show and didn't have to be in. I was just worried about throwing the comedy shows and the concerts, and not worried about being so greedy. It's like, I need to get the money from the liquor because that's what's going to pay and all that. So I made sure I had some of the nonprofits, always had a nonprofit there to get that Humboldt money, you know what I mean? And
that's what's up. You're smart. You're smart for that, man.
Yeah, so that's what, I remember back then they were trying to close me, give me a rough time and kind of block me out to ABC and all of that. But I was always a straightforward man. And I went down one time to the police station because the lady said, "Oh, we got heard stories about you selling alcohol to minors." I was like, "No, you haven't." You know what I mean? They're like, "Oh yeah, there is." So I go, she's like, "Well, I'll give you a beer and wine license." And I said, "So let me understand, you can give me a beer and wine license today, but you won't give me my alcohol license?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "What's the difference between serving beer to a minor or alcohol to a minor?" And she was, "That's it, this meeting's over." So I go down to the police station. I talked to the police chief. I said, "Is there any investigation, anything going on me about actually serving to a minor?" Like, "No, James, there's no investigation, no anything like that." So I go back to ABC. I said, "I just talked to the police chief, and if I have to call Sacramento, I will, but I don't know what's going on." And the next day, because she had pulled one of my liquor licenses, and I had a show come out the next day, and then immediately the next day she called me back. She's like, "I think we got off to the wrong foot. And I usually don't do this, but I'm going to give you your license." And she released the liquor license, and I really didn't have no more problems after that. But I see how they were actually trying to hold it back and all that, and still live in Humboldt for being open to 4 years. I was there. I've never had the police come there for any fights. There was never no fights. There was never no injuries. There was never no anything at my establishment for as long as I owned it. And I have to say, thank you, Humboldt, for the support again and the respect to recognize somebody doing something for Humboldt and not bringing any negative vibes to any of my shows. And again, I wouldn't have did that or been able to do that with the help of my Humboldt folks, man. So thank you for standing behind me and supporting me in all my endeavors.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's exactly right. That's what One Ton was talking about when he was telling the Greg Mack story. He said that Greg Mack said the fans are here. The people that want to hear and support this hip hop, they're here. You know what I'm saying? So shout out, I've given them shout outs before, but shout out to the people in Humboldt County that have supported Humboldt County hip hop and the growth in this community. You know what I'm saying? Because without y'all, it wouldn't, it would be in a completely different place.
Yeah, and again, just to touch on it, the community that we're in reference to, and I'm in reference to, come in all shapes and sizes. Like I said, there's hip hop heads in uniform, there's hip hop heads in hospitals, there's hip hop heads in school, they're on the streets, they're everywhere. So the community that I'm in reference to that's held it up, and I think we're both touching on is not held to a certain genre or look or dress code. The people that support hip hop come in all shapes and sizes, all the way down to the chief of police that wasn't afraid to have my back and let me know when stuff was off and when stuff was right. So the support comes in all shapes and sizes, and I'm happy for that.
Yeah, I'm happy that you've been able to gather that support over the years and create the memorable groups, music, and legacy that you created for this community, man. And I'm glad that you got it on this podcast, so that way it's going to be out there permanently for folks to be able to know this is what OEB has done from the 90s, the late 90s, all the way up to now to foster the hip hop community in Humboldt County.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we got a record to do, man. It's a pleasure. Even being invited. When Casey had told me, he's like, man, I'm gonna have this podcast, dude. He's gonna call you HipHopHumboldt, and he's like, he got me and all that. And he's like, I want you to get on there. Always like, you gotta get on there. And I was like, well, no problem. When he calls me, I would love to go on there.
Yeah.
And chop it up and talk. So it's a great pleasure getting to get it out here.
Yeah, y'all, the pleasure's all mine, OEB. Hey, man, I wanted to ask you a question, kind of a side conversation. It's all related to hip hop. Yeah. Something you saying earlier, I think I heard you say that you performed on the same stage as like at some points with Too Short and E40.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just want to, I've said this on the pod before about E40. E40 is he's such a foundational pillar of hip hop, period. Just people always just, liken him to the Bay, and he's from the Bay and all that, man. E40, man, when you really get into, I'm a hip hop head, and so I'm really into learning about different things. I've been that way since the 90s, since I started listening to hip hop, So one of the dudes that I've always liked is Master P, and I was a big time No Limit Soldier back when, that was popping, And come to find out, just maybe 3-4 years ago, if even that, on some, podcast or show or whatever, Master P's doing an interview, and he finally let it be known. He's like, hey, to be real about it, the one who taught me this entrepreneurial game in hip hop is actually E40. E40 put Percy Miller on.
Yeah, put Master P, because I was born and raised in Humboldt. I have family in Richmond, California, so I spent every summer in Richmond, and I got the school year up here. And so I remember when it was a compilation when Herm Lou was putting all those compilations out of Frisco, and the big one. And so Master P used to be in Richmond, California, and so they were doing music out of there. So when I first heard P was before his mainstream, and he was on compilations, Trying to Survive in the Ghetto compilations out of San Francisco with Herm Lou and all of those. So that's when I first started listening to Master P, and he was good back there, and that's when I first started seeing him, and so I could see how he learned from E40, because the Rich is right there by Vallejo, and E40 was out back there. And I remember when people up here, when he first came out with his first tapes, I remember hip hop people up here, like one of my boys in general, he's like, we listen to Tangy. I don't know if you ever heard of Tangy, but we listen to a song called Tangy in E40's early song.
Oh, okay.
And he's flipping his tongue at E40. And dude, he goes, what is all this? Literally throws the tape out the window. He's like, this is garbage, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, you didn't even hear what he was saying. He's like, well, how come? He was like, blah, 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 and he's doing all these things and all that. And I remember a lot of people when, I would come from the Bay with my tapes and all that, you had to stick the tissue at the top. You used to have to record off the radio. And I would come back up here at Humboldt with the tapes and stuff. Nobody understood E40 until they never gave him his respect. They're still now recognizing and giving E40 his respect for things that he's did a long, long time. So
yeah, he's a real. I like to say that if there was a Mount Rushmore of hip hop, E40 would have to be on there.
I would definitely say 40 would be on there. He would definitely be on there. I grew up, like I said, of so many different hip hop artists. Like I always like Catastrophe. I like the Alcoholics out of LA. They were like dope when King T and them came up. And so like I listened to gangster rap and NWA and stuff, but it never caught me like, you know, the Liquid Crew, you know what I mean? They were, the Alcoholics were like lyrical, and I like Catastrophe and J-Ro and all of those. So I would need a whole, I just got so many people that I want to put up that I understood. But E40, as far as being from the Bay and West Coast, he definitely is up there. They're high, you know what I mean? But like I said, I like a lot of different types of hip hop. Master Ace was a good one that I grew up on. You know, I liked a lot of his work and all that. I liked Cassidy, you know what I'm saying? I liked a lot of lyrical hip hop, you know what I mean?
Seems like you were into the beat battle kind of freestyler hip hop too.
Yeah, I was into this, the fresh, you know, just staying up there. Not the battles of today where they give you a month to study your artist and write 15 different verses and see which one happens. I'm talking about, you know, you all go there, 50 people enter, you pull out of a hat, bam, you figure out who you're battling first. You may see him stand over there, you may see him miss, but it's like you gotta just stay armed with about 50 to 60 limericks that could be slid in between a couple different words and applied to anybody. So you really had, you know, your craft, you know, damn, you didn't get a month to study an opponent, write them, dig up dirt on them on YouTube and do all that and the memory. So I like, no disrespect to the battlers of now, that's what they do. I just grew up off a different way, and there's different things in hip hop. Like over here, what I've noticed when I was on the East Coast during my time, where a song would be like, oh, we're gonna freestyle, and so we freestyle, but there would be a lot of written verses. And then over on the West Coast, like a battle freestyle, it's like you step in, you know, you just going off the head, talking about what it is. And then I used to be like, well, that's so weird, but it was just like the way they did it on the East Coast. They think of a freestyle as some art that they're not getting paid for. So they're not gonna make money off this. You're not paying them to come to see them at a show. You're not doing that. So in their mind, when they're coming and busting their lyrics for you in a cipher, that's a freestyle. But it's totally different from the meaning of freestyle on the West Coast. When you up here, you freestyle and you coming off the head and you doing that. And that's one thing I learned in my travels. Not to say East is right or West is right. It's just different, and you got to know like the difference when you go into it. Because I've been into some spots where they're like, their homeboys are singing and adding their ad-libs in, but it's supposed to be freestyle, and I didn't understand it because I was from the West Coast, but then I started catching on. They look at freestyle different. It's they're giving you their art and not getting paid for it, even though it's written art that they remember. So that was one of the lessons that I learned traveling and going through and getting in ciphers of freestyle. There's a big difference from like the West Coast freestyle and the East Coast freestyle.
Hey, that's a real dope, interesting part of the culture you just brought up there. I had no idea about that.
Yeah. If you can see it when they talk about it, like, you know, in the West Coast, when they go into, you like off the head of this or that, so you kind of know exactly what they mean by freestyle. But on the East Coast, when they're in the ciphers and they're freestyle, like I said, their homeboys just filling in their ad-libs and their punchlines and all that. They're like, well, this isn't a freestyle. But I'm learning the culture and taking it in, so I can't like accuse somebody of doing something wrong, especially if I'm in something else. So I just kind of learned and kind of figured out what everybody was doing. And then my mind started clicking like, oh, okay, their understanding of freestyle is different. They're just not getting any financial gain off of this, but they're not coming off the head though.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Because on the West Coast, you know, we got like living legends, and you know, where freestyling, the art of it, you know, the classic art of it, where it's off the dome, was never really lost out here.
Yes. I never knew no difference till I started traveling. So I'm like, oh, there's a difference between freestyle and, you know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the things too I want to bring up, speaking of freestyling, I wanted to give a quick shout out to the Fat Bowl Cypher, who's been doing it they've been doing that for almost 10 years, and Fat Bowl's been around for longer than that, but that's one of the dope ones where you can come out to the Fat Bowl Cypher, you can come and, you know, you can bring your bars, or just come off the dome. You know what I'm saying? Like either way, so it's kind of fostering everybody. So then that makes a lot of sense now, considering what you just said. There is the different, you know, perspectives on it.
Yeah, the cultural background. And like you said, we do have HSU here and we have CR here. So it's like me being born and raised here, I've seen people come here for 4 years of college, graduate, and 8 years later, the little brothers up here, I see them like, oh, my brother told me about you. All I do is meet up with OEB. So I've seen cycles and cycles of different people come through here that last through different generations. And I love seeing it come through Humboldt. And so, yeah, man, I understand the different cultures that when they come here and how Fat Bowls, you know, opening up so everybody can say, well, okay, they're not holding me to just coming off the dome, because that's not the culture of freestyle I was raised in, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's good. Big up Fat Bowl and the boys too. And,
a comment.
What he said, what Ton was touching on about always having some good sticky dank and all that around. And again, you know, me being from here, I try to keep things explainable and kind of like crayons and blank paper. Like I said, I like to refer to that very simple. When I was in science class and you see that diagram where the ocean makes the clouds and it comes over, it rains on the edge of the land and it goes back in, that kind of cycle of life, that's what we are in Humboldt. So it produces an environment that the trees will flourish, any trees, your fruits, your anything that grows around here will flourish because we're right in that cycle of life. We're not like inland where it's too hot, where you have to do a lot of things. So like we're the piece that's in the science book. So that kind of explains why we're able to grow such high quality out here. And I used to do the same thing, like in parts, you know, different states and stuff. They call me the Humboldt dude. I rode my Harley Davidson around. I had HD and Humboldt dude on all my Harleys and all that. I used to go to the show. I used to go to the show with a pound of weed tied around my belt loop, just like bam, with the whole pound out of my slicks, and could ride up onto the spot and join to the joint with a whole sticky pound and blowing on something thick. Back when I started smoking blunts were blunts. Like these little skinny things that you buy at the store, these Swishers and all that, those weren't even around when I started smoking blunts. A blunt took 5 to 7 grams. Not anybody want to smoke it. You get a Swisher, you're getting that big one. You get a Vega, you're getting that big full size when I'm breaking it down. Then when blunts became popular, you start seeing these little skinny things, and people would come up from the bay like, oh, I match you a blunt. And I'm like looking at that thing, and I would take their blunts and flip it around and push the weed in the back of my blunt and just hand it back to them. I'm like, that's about all that's good for, is stuffing the weed back in my blunt. So I used to do the same thing, go, and they'd be like, oh, can I buy? What's that? Can I buy it? And I was like, you can't buy it, because again, this is marketing and promoting. I can't get the advertisers I'll go get by just selling this pound. One person's gonna harvest it, but I'm gonna hit the party. I'll be giving nugs out to everybody in the party. This whole pound is here to smoke and give away. This is the marketing strategy, and you're gonna be calling me for everywhere. So everywhere I touch down, when I go to the function, I got my HD, I got that pound of sticky tied on my belt loop, and I'm just walking in, chains on and all my stuff, and you can't buy nothing, but you can smoke all night. I gotta smoke this whole bag up. And then they would end up remembering me too. You know?
Yeah.
And they'd be hitting me back and giving me my props, calling me, Humboldt boy, you remember that time you came? They tell stories. Man, I told you, there he is right there. I was telling my homeboy that there's a boy be walking around here with a whole pound on his hip. And now, bam, here you is. I seen you at the other party. I'm like, yeah, that's me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that is a good marketing strategy, just to be able to leave with some of the sticky from here and bring it to places that that didn't understand it. Like I said, I got the best of both worlds. I used to go to Frisco, and they'd want to give up $5,000 for a pair of outdoor. But now you go to Frisco, like, oh, we've been growing for so long, we kind of know what's going on, we know everything about weed. I'm like, cut out.
Yeah.
How we get lost to you feel what I'm saying? So
now that's really smart, man, because depending on the time period, at some point a pack was like, four racks, and so like being able to just take a pound like that and give it out for free, that's literally, versus what it would cost to grow a pound. Like, you're really maximizing your money and your marketing dollars doing that, man.
Yeah, it's the best thing I do. I always, like I said, my grandma used to tell me, take out the garbage. And she would say, use your strong muscle. And I always used to think she would talk about my legs and arms and all that stuff. But then I grab the garbage and it would be spilling everywhere. And so my grandma would be like, now when I say use your strongest muscle, I talk about your arms and legs, use your brain. Tie the bag up first. Make sure no garbage ain't finna fall out. Then grab it. I tell you take the garbage out, use your strong muscle. I ain't talking about your hands. And so little things like that have me like, you know what? What's one of the richest men in the world who's a quadriplegic or the past, you know what I'm saying? He grabbing, he can't move or nothing, but his brain is still clicking and functioning at such high speeds, he can produce money. So that's why I try to put it on my brain too. So when I think of my market, I'm like, well, dang, I don't need to always put money in. If I want to get this done, how can I do it? So that's what kind of triggers me. I hear my grandma, use your strongest muscle when you do anything. I'm like, that's my brain. So I be always trying to work up the under schemes to make it happen.
That's what's up, man. I hope the folks are listening to that. A lot of folks out there, they're not getting it. I ain't talking bad about families and that they ain't raising kids right or whatever, but I'm just saying that wisdom right there, kids might not be getting that out there like they should be. You know what I'm saying? You got to use the strongest muscle in your body.
And that's your brain.
That's right.
Everything, yeah. So
yeah.
I'm happy to have been raised, I'm raised by all women, you know what I mean, in Humboldt. I'm happy that Humboldt was a part of my upbringing, and it's deep rooted in me. A lot of people have bad understandings about Humboldt. I used to get, a lot of guys that come up for college used to be like, oh, it's kind of like prejudice or it's a white area. But me being from here, I was always the only black kid in class. I'm literally everybody's first black friend, and stuff like that. And I didn't grow up in the hoods or nothing like that. I grew up here at Humboldt poor. So when I talk about the hood to me, I'm not talking about a bunch of black guys that had it hard. I'm talking about me and a bunch of white guys that had it hard. All of my best friends were white. All my everything, was white. Every time I got chased by the police, I was doing something bad. They weren't chasing me because I was black or necessary. So sometimes the college kids come up from a different environment. They're up here and they're used to things in their environment. I tell them, it's not really like that. I don't want Humboldt to get a black eye. Behind some false pretenses and all that. So I try to educate, people when they come up here, let them know why I love Humboldt, and just keep it real with them. There's too many kids and people getting led by false understandings, and then the media and what they think is right. And I like to just give it to them straight.
That's what's up. I like that, and something else that I think people don't think about a lot. Again, shout out to One Ton, because I just keep on bringing up stuff that he was talking about, But something that people don't think about is the growers and just folks in the community up here that have been involved in the cannabis scene. Like, folks is taking penitentiary chances.
Yeah.
And people don't think about that, So
open the gate. Like, I don't know if you, there's a guy that a lot of people probably forgot about. I call him Jesus till this day, because he died on the cross. And if you got a 215 up here when weed first got legal, your doctor was Todd McArea. And there's a gentleman that did a lot of time. He's brought the first cannabis clubs up here. Timmy G, shout out to Timmy G, I call you Jesus. But when I was coming up, he had the first cannabis clubs. If you got a 215 from him, you got it from Todd McArea out of the house behind the Stop and Shop, which was the hood. That was the hood liquor store. You know what I'm saying? He was right in the hood, and he had that Arcata where Angelo's used to be coming down the hill. That Grove store right there a long time ago, and he was ahead of the cannabis game for me, but stayed right in the hood. And then he took a lot of heat from the politics and everything standing behind cannabis, and he went to prison and did a lot of time. And then he came back to my era, seeing me get praises for Humboldt's finest and all of this and all of that. And I always told him, like, don't think that I forget where this came from. That's why I always call you Jesus. And he always says, thanks, Dan. Because a lot of people just look at him and rub him off like a nothing. But if the first 215s that was in Humboldt County came from Timmy G, you know what I'm saying, who I call, Jesus, and his doctor. So he was the front runner and a lot of the legal stuff. He did time for the legal stuff. And came back, and I happen to get the benefit of some of the work that he put in, just like the kids these days get the benefit of me being in the weed game 8-9 years ago and going through the rough parts while they figured out the rules. Okay, this strip is going to be legal and all that. So a lot of these people have the rules set, and they didn't have to go through the stuff that like earlier people did, even like myself, having to have a building pre-rented in 3 different spots until the city or the county decides which one they're going to open, because if you wait till after, you're not going to get a building. Mm-hmm. And so, you pay $10,000 a month here, $10,000 a month here, $10,000 a month, just because they keep saying they're going to open up these spots, and you want to make sure you have a building to be legal in. And it cost a lot of money. It was a lot of wasted money. A lot of people ran out of money going through that. Mm-hmm. And so I missed the going to jail era, but I ran slam into the political era where they're going to juice you and see how much money you could get. Up until now, they have a designated spot in Arcata and all these designated. So long as you can get in, you didn't have to put in the groundwork or the money that people like me and before me, like Timmy G, and before us, the people who Gorilla Grew and all that put in. So, big up to the people still staying in it and passing the torch and keeping it on. You guys have a hard time, but the people before you have dealt with a lot of hard times to make it to where you are. You deal with these hard times, pass the torch on to the next version of people that are going to keep this cannabis thing going. But
that's it. Yeah. I love that you brought that up, OEB, because what I like that I see in the cannabis community around here is, to be real about it, the government has not done right. The Humboldt County government has not done right by the cannabis growing community, by the cannabis community in certain ways. Let me at least say that. I won't go too hard on them, but I'm going to say that, right? And so I love that the cannabis community around here, the growers, the farmers, have come together to support one another and fight back. I don't want to say it like that, like people are fighting the government, but for real, that's what really it is, because the government was overtaxing, right? The people fought back against that, got them to pull all those taxes and all that nonsense back, So I love seeing that in Humboldt County, people coming together to fight for fight for what's right for them, and I think that goes back to what you said that other people are talking about in this hip hop community in Humboldt County. We all got to start working together.
That's exactly when the masses can understand each other, you could overcome anything. If they could segregate you, you could go back to even in nature. That's how in the wild, if they segregate one from the herd, they're gonna kill him. He's more off, and that's how they get him. But when the herd is together, they're strong. And if you look at those natural examples, again, crayon on black paper, you don't have to put too much thought behind it. This happens in nature, so chances are, if we're doing the same thing we see in nature, where we're segregating ourselves off from a hip-hop community and we're segregating, it's easier for the world or the system to jump on you and take advantage of you than it is to jump on a conglomerate as a whole. So happy to see us coming together and doing all that too. It's like, I love it. I like just going and feeling the vibe at the scenes and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like I came from an era that, Ton of them probably know too, with tsunamis and like all the breakdance and like the plaza. The plaza is not the plaza that we grew up with. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of activity going on, a lot of community, a lot of places to go. I grew up with house parties too, like, where you just 6 milligram plastic on the windows on the inside so it's completely dark, and you in there just, the music is going, you back to no lights, you just in there. I grew up a kid and play style house parties, in Humboldt, and it was great.
That's dope.
That's what hip hop was like. I'm like, yo, this is nice. Like, we got house parties and it's going down and all that. And so to see it, kind of fade away, but in a sense, since Humboldt's being more open to it, you start to be able to play at more different places where you can gather and all that. So it's changed a little bit, but I love just going to the shows and being supportive no matter who's doing it, who's bringing entertainment here. Because again, I've been here forever and we've needed entertainment forever. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I love it.
Yep, I love it too. The growth in this county, in Humboldt County Hip Hop, it's a beautiful thing to see so many new artists getting involved because they see, that hip hop is therapy for a lot of people, man. Like for me, definitely for me, like hip hop has got me through a lot of hard times, man. And I see that through a lot of other people that I talk to and have come on the podcast, and even in Humboldt County, there are hip hop artists that have said, real quick shout out to Maniac, the rapper, Maniac 707. They dope,
Shout out to Maniac.
Yeah, they said on the podcast when it was a few episodes ago, sitting right there where you sitting, and Maniac's a person that's garnered a lot of respect over time in this community. You know what I'm saying? And so, continuing, there's a show on May 20th. Shout out to Maniac and the homies. That's the show that's going on May 20th at the Siren Song. That's going to be Highway, Maniac, McWicked. I never heard of McWicked before, but I'm going to see McWicked at that show. And Forrest Green, who's another young up-and-coming artist around here. And so I love to see the crossover between the generations in terms of Maniac and Highway have been doing it around here for a while, And then you got the newcomers like Forrest Green, who's been doing it for a few years. And with this hip-hop scene as it is right now, there's a good quote that somebody said on this podcast. It's kind of untapped in that there's a lot of potential for more growth.
Oh, yeah.
And so I see a lot of these different shows that are going on out there, not hip hop. There's just so much art that happens in Humboldt County. And so now these artists are starting to show out for the hip hop shows, and there's more and more of them. So I love seeing it, man.
Yeah, I think I love seeing it too. I think I watched it go from like I said, not having very many places to perform or get your art out there to places like Siren Song, places like Internet's Liquors. They still will let you do a show and keep the door. They just want the alcohol, and different things that are there for people to perform in and do it. I think the next one of the next steps is going to be a festival with local artists. So it's last a weekend or a few days, and you rent a park out. So it's like you get to see a whole entourage of the Humboldt talent day after day, like a jazz festival or oyster festival, and it brings attention to the local hip hop community in all way, shapes, and forms, and everybody gets their art out, and gets to do it. I look forward to seeing that type of thing happen next. That's what I would like to see, the next step in local hip hop, or maybe an annual festival that focuses on the hip hop community and what's going on.
Yep, so, that would be really dope. Yeah. And that's something that I wanted to give a quick shout out to the Humboldt Hip Hop Congress that just started this year. I'm a part of it. We got Brian Swislow on there from Fat Bowl, Freestyle King, Subliminal Sabotage, you know, and so many other things that Brian Swislow has done, Fat Bowl and everything else. Julia Finkelstein, who owns the Epitome Gallery down there in Eureka, Old Town. So it's
by the old works or something.
Exactly. Yep. Goldie DJ Goldilocks is on there. Zach Lehner's Exilla. Knack One from the Fantastic Families on there, you know. And the general goal is to promote the scene in Humboldt County, you know. And so that's definitely an idea that's rolling, is a festival. Like, we need that kind of thing. Like, you know, I just saw the Redwood Poetry Festival just came out. They're doing it for their second year in a row. It might be many more. It might be more years than that, but they do an annual festival where they get a lot of poets to come out from across the country, even, you know. And so there's a beautiful thing that's happening in Humboldt County hip hop, and I think that I absolutely believe that there will be artists from outside the area that will come to support a hip hop festival like that. So I would love to see whether it's the Humboldt Hip Hop Congress or just the Humboldt Hip Hop Congress supporting other groups all coming together, Blo Somem and other groups, and you know, getting everybody together to do something like that, because that would be very meaningful for this county.
Yeah, and I would be, you know, into it. Like I said, I'll do whatever I can to help uplift the hip hop community. I've been here for, you know, like I said, 3 generations. I know a lot of people in my network that I've built that I'm willing to extend no charge for the better of the hip hop community. So if there's anything, anybody watch the podcast and you're involved, you got some ideas, no ideas too big or too small, to DM me or try to hook up. I'm just a humble hill boy like the rest of y'all, so you know what I mean. Reach out, let's make something happen. You know, Humboldt stand up.
That's it, Humboldt stand up, for real. Hey, OEB, where can they hit you up at?
Well, I'm James Spears, you know, on Facebook. You know, I don't do much, or you can hook up the BSC on Facebook and all that, but I don't do a lot of dinging and adding. And, you know, the last couple of years I've been taking off and revamping with the COVID and all that, and I had to cancel a bunch of shows and do a lot of stuff that I put together during that time, you know what I'm saying? So now revamping and getting a good run at it. So you can always see what I'm doing on, you know, my Facebook, you know, James Spears. You can also get on the BSC Facebook, leave a message, it'll all come, and, you know, I'll get back with you, you know what I'm saying? I'm always down to do anything to support the community, the hip hop community, and anything they got. So if it takes us all to get together and say, you know, we need a facility, or we need this donated or that donated, I could probably pull a lot of things together to make it possible for us to pull something together.
That's what's up, OEB. Hey, man, I appreciate that, what you're doing for the community. I wanted to also let you know real quick, as I'm letting folks know in the community right now, that I'm going to be doing an annual show, again, just once per year, because I don't have the time to do, you know, this podcast, it takes a lot of time. Yes. It keeps me, at least I'm keeping busy. I'm, you know, keeping consistent with it, dropping episodes, making sure that folks get their shine. And so I only have the time to do like one show like that per year, but I am doing one per year. And so you definitely invited. Basically, any artist who's been on the podcast, come out to that show at the Arcada Playhouse July 1st for free. You're gonna have a seat. You're gonna be on the guest list. Come out to it, and there's gonna be a bunch of other people that have been on the pod that's gonna be there. The lineup. So we got Knack One hosting it. We got DJ Just One on the ones and twos for it. We got, man, this dude is so dope. He's one of my favorite artists right now. A dude named Honest. He's gonna be headlining that one. We got Eli Fowler on it.
I like Eli.
Oh man, he's one of my favorites.
He's dope too.
Yeah.
Shout out to Eli. Humboldt stand up. He's good.
That's it, man. He's been a Humboldt County, and specifically, most definitely a Southern Humboldt County representative for a long time, man.
Yeah, I think that's I know Eli, and I recognize Big Up. He's a wonderful artist. Love the music. Been around for a long time. And I know he's been at So but I don't like to segregate Humboldt. Some people like to say, like, sometimes when you hear it's like So and No are two different continents, and that mindset is one of the things that's keeping us all from coming together too. It's no So and No we're Humboldt as a whole. And so that's one thing I notice in any community and anywhere you go. Once you start saying, oh, we're South and we're North and we're West Side, it gets too, that's just ways to segregate yourself, and it's kind of like almost proactive to use the lingo. So I always say Humboldt stand up, and we're one as a whole. I don't care if you in Oric, you know what I'm saying? I don't care if you in Garberville, I don't care if you're in Willow Creek, I don't care if you're in Hydesville, you know what I mean? You're all Humboldt people to me, my Humboldt Hellions, man.
That's it. Remember, y'all, this is a community. It's a beautiful community. Ain't nobody competing out here like that, man. Like, I really, there's that general kind of like mentality. I don't know if it's a holdover from whether it's a different era of hip hop, you know what I'm saying, mainstream hip hop or whatever it may be, but like I don't know where that thought that people are competing, like how it either got there or perpetuates itself, because nobody's competing out here, man.
Nobody. Just keep pushing the bar up. Just keep pushing the bar on yourself and your art and sharpening your craft, and without saying anything, without having to prove a point. Believe you me, any artist that's an artist is going to sharpen his craft when he hears or sees sharp craft out there. He's not going to come dull. So
Steel sharpens steel.
Just keep at your craft. Have faith in your art, and that alone, the bar will keep getting set. And support. You always want somebody else to do better. We all have the same goal. We want hip hop to be out there. We want Humboldt hip hop to reach the mainstream. We want to be respected. We all got the same goal. So if you just keep your craft high, people are going to follow that example. And then it'll eventually get up there. So don't put barriers up between yourself or anybody else. If the common goal is for all of us to stay together, man, we're one.
That's it. Something that a couple dudes you may have heard of, Rude Entertainment. I'm talking Tyler and Asad, Track and Asad, a couple of young brothers. So Asad, he's got a radio show, and so he's out of Houston, and Tyler, aka Track, he's from Humboldt County. You know what I'm saying? And so like on that episode, they said we were talking about the same thing that you're talking about right now, which is folks need to work together. Track made an interesting point, is that right now there's so much talent in Humboldt County. There's some dope dudes out there, and there's a couple heads that are really trying hard to really like blow up. You know what I'm saying? So if somebody does blow up, and we get a bit of a lens on Humboldt County, and things are kind of scattered, that's gonna do everyone a disservice compared to if everybody was together.
Yes. That's 100% correct. That's 100% correct. That's one of the things what I try to do with, like I said, with BSC, is just gather people, have them here, have them ready, give them a place to practice their craft. Everybody on BSC, we had to have rehearsals, and they were kind of like, they didn't understand it a lot of the time. And I'm just like, well, this is, like I said, you got to exercise. I wouldn't even do a show if I can't get up there and do a show, so I don't want to run out of breath. I don't want to be doing that. These people are paying money, or if they're not paying money, they're paying respect, which is priceless. That no matter what amount they take or pay for the ticket, if they're giving you your respect, that's priceless. So you want to make sure you give them a good show and do what you're supposed to do for them. So
yeah. Hey, OEB, I just real quick, I wanted to say something. I'm really thankful that you brought up the beautiful conversation that you were talking about earlier regarding Highway's dad, man. Shout out to Highway and his dad and what they did, what Highway continues to do.
Yeah, big shout out to Nate. Like Nate, a lot of people don't know, like what what Ton was talking about, Greg Mack, well, Nate was working with Greg Mack. Highway's dad was working hand in hand with Greg Mack. That's how he got our stuff on the radio and all of that stuff. So Greg Mack aired some of our stuff. You heard some of that stuff along, you know, my Uncle Brian. Shout out Uncle Brian. But during that time when they were all around, Nate, Highway's dad, he was one of the main ones. And like I said, I'm just glad he seen it and, you know, had faith and gave someone a chance. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
Much love.
Yeah, and Highway's definitely taken the torch, man, and kept the quality of everything that he does at the highest level, man. He just released an album, Quiet Confidence, and that whole album is fire. And see, I'm telling you is that, you know, like I said, I have a lot of respect for marketing. Like, you got a marketing eye and a marketing sense. And so Highway's the same way, because one of the things that he did with that album was if you bought the album on Amazon or Apple, I think it is, then you get an extra 10 tracks that he will personally send you to listen to, like 10 bonus tracks. Yeah. And he was like, hey, he's like, I want those tracks out there for like just people to just enjoy. So what you do whatever you want with them. You know what I'm saying? So it's that kind of thing, like those marketing, like, you know, that kind of stuff is going to generate the buzz and keep people interested, you know what I'm saying? So he's definitely taking the torch of what his dad did to progress the hip hop culture in this county and the culture in this county, period. Yeah. Like, he's definitely taking the torch.
Yes, 100%, man. Like I said, I watched him grow from an educated young man to a well-rounded, you know, young man. And the whole step of the way he's been focused and dead on, man.
Yep.
Yep.
He's really you know, I'm not trying to say like everybody should go out there and bite on him, but he's really one of the most inspiring personalities in Humboldt County hip hop that has stayed so consistent and has reached the level of notoriety that who in Humboldt County hip hop would not want to reach the reach that Highway has.
Yeah, I understand. You got, I don't think if you're an artist at all, you wouldn't want to take the step up. And Highway has definitely reached the platform that you definitely want to try to go for. If you're starting or aspiring or doing anything, just watch out the game plan that he put together. And he put in hard work.
Yep.
Like hard work. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't see it. They only see the shows. Mm-hmm. They only hear the music, but he's put in hard work to get where he's at. Like I said, I remember he was a young man, like a little kid, and he had a rhyme book, you know what I'm saying, at his dad's recording studio. So this is decades of craft and sharpening his craft to get where he's at today. They say something, he just feel like, oh, I'm good with words, I want to rap. I've thoroughly seen him been putting in work, like for decades, before he was performing, sharpen his craft. Before he was doing anything, he was sharpening his craft.
Yep.
So
that's what y'all got to do out there for real though. Like, people need to sharpen their craft, drop dope music. I ain't telling folks what to do. That's not what I'm out here doing. But, you know, it's definitely some good guidance.
Yes, definitely got to set guidance and follow it follow it and have faith in your craft and have the passion for your craft. Never lose the passion for your craft, you know, and that's what'll keep it going. That's definitely what'll keep it going.
Yep. AOEB, man, if you were to, that was a lot of bars right there for the youth that are out there, you know, coming up in hip hop right now. If you were to, in all the experience that you've had in Humboldt County hip hop and hip hop in general, if you were to take an artist, let's just say between the ages of 18 and 21, and give them some advice that would benefit them the most, would it be different? What would you say? Would it be different than anything you just said? What would you tell them?
An artist, it would probably vary from each artist, because the first thing I like to push, and I want to let an artist know, is to know the science of hip hop and the making a song. It's gonna save you money in the studio. It's gonna open your gates States to be able to work with people so you're speaking the same language. If you know the science, the lingo, you know, ad-lib, track, and all that, I would say treat it like a resume. Get you 4 or 5 songs that are good and perform and push those 4 or 5 songs. I would reach out to your network. If you have a network with those 4 or 5 songs, even if it's just letting you get a song on, everybody putting you on, but I would just get a small resume, 4 or 5 songs, know your craft, and go. You know, keep it very simple. Know your craft, have a sharp weaponry, you know, 4 or 5 songs, and go. You don't need a big vocab or no big music folder to chase it, because again, I performed songs from 15 years ago at my shows, but I never put a year. My stuff's timeless, and I'm not rapping about a certain day or a certain this. So when you hear my songs, you can play them in any era of music 10, 15 years from now. It's just going to be good listening, because I don't attach myself to any era or any age, or say, you know, 2020 or this or all that. I don't attach myself to nothing. I just make good music. So if you have those 5 songs and you practice them and you craft them and you put on a good show, even if you said just those 5 songs, you know, like Michael Jackson, they're still coming to hear his old songs when he was alive. No matter any performer, they're coming to hear his old songs. When people want to hear Elvis, they don't want to hear his new shit. If he had it, they want to hear old songs. So 5 songs, sharp, craft them, go hard with them. That's what I would tell any young artist. Don't put extra stress on yourself. I have to be in the studio and make a bunch of songs. Get you 5 strong songs and push them with everything you have.
Hey, that's some of the best advice that's been on the HipHopHumboldt podcast, period, yet, OEB. Thank you, man. That's really dope. I hope folks are listening to that and take heed, because that's facts right there. You really have to hone your craft and go hard.
Right there. You don't have to have a whole bunch. A swordsman has a sword on. You don't pack a gun, a sword, a knife, and all that. He got the sword, and he practices that sword. He goes to battle with that sword. You don't need a bunch of weapons. Get a few songs and go. That's the advice I would give.
That's it. That's what's up, OEB. Hey, man. You know, so one of the things I tell folks that come on the podcast is that, you know, you're always welcome in the future when you're about to do something with BSE or anything else, you know what I'm saying? And you want to come back, you holler at me, you let me know, and we're going to put you back on. You let the folks know, you know what I'm saying? I just want to give my appreciation to you for doing this, man, because, you know, nobody has to come in and sit and give their hours to me for this podcast like this, and more importantly, tell you stories that you've had a meaningful impact on Humboldt County like this. That's absolute, you know, based on everything that folks have told me, you know what I'm saying? I've been involved in Humboldt County Hip Hop for just barely over a year. You know what I'm saying? I've been a fan of hip hop for well over 30 years. You know what I'm saying? But I've lived here for about 20, just never really got involved with Humboldt County hip hop. I was more just always stuck on my mainstream hip hop, you know? And so now that I'm checking out what's been going on in the scene, you know, you're a person that's gotten a lot of respect. So thank you.
Man, like I said, I appreciate the community and the people in the hip hop world for giving me that respect and giving me those honors. Because like I said, you can't name yourself, or you can't dub yourself something, you know what I mean? The streets have to speak on it, you know? And so I'm just appreciative that the streets and the community understand me and know me as a person, and even give me their brain power to even think of me as a person or a pillar or somebody to look up to in the community. And like I said, I wouldn't be nothing without my Humboldt folks, you know what I'm saying? We build each other, you know, blocks stack together and get higher. So I wouldn't be nothing without my supporters out there and the people that have held me up in this community. So just keep being the beautiful people you are, and Humboldt will rise.
That's it. Hey, thanks a lot, OEB. I appreciate you, man.
Anytime. And I'll be, again, BSC, look for more BSC events coming up. I ain't gonna spill the beans on a lot of things, but I got some things coming up. I want to shock everybody and kind of stick to it. So, keep it Humboldt. I look forward to seeing y'all.
Yeah, make sure y'all come out to these shows, Humboldt County, for real. There's a lot of dope shows going on. Again, I'm gonna shout out that May 6th show, DJ True Justice, bringing a bunch of people up here at the jam. So check that one out. Also, real quick, that same night, May 6th, Devin the Dude is right around the corner at Humbrew's. Oh, so it's there's like 2 smoker shows right there on the little corner in Arcata, man. So come out, bring some fire. Drift between both of the shows. That's what I like to do sometimes,
Just get out there and get maneuvered.
That's it, man.
Yeah, make sure you come out and enjoy yourself. There are 2 shows like that in the same area. That's rare too. So you want to take advantage of being able to come out and see DJ True Justice and some of your local artists here. You definitely want to catch Devin the Dude. If you haven't heard of Devin the Dude or it's your first time, you won't be disappointed, man. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with True Justice. If you've never seen True Justice or a True Justice show or, a BSC show or anything, treat yourself. Don't cheat yourself. Come on out and enjoy it, man.
That's it, yeah. And one last real quick plug I want to get in. Hey, so I've been doing this podcast for about a year. And if you like the work that I've been doing in the county, go to HipHopHumboldt.com and check out the podcast merch. That's the best way to support the podcast is buy some of that merch. I got hoodies, beanies, stickers, keychains, and you can also buy your ticket to the July 1st for the Culture Hip Hop Humboldt show. Make sure you get your ticket for that. That's all on HipHopHumboldt.com. Hey, OEB, I'm looking forward to everything that you and Blo Somem's got coming. I'm gonna have my eye on it without a doubt. So send it my way. We're gonna plug it on all the socials, man. I love supporting what you got going.
I definitely will, man. Anytime you want me to come on there, be a guest speaker about anything, no matter what we're talking about, I'm in, man. Appreciate it.
That's what's up.